Can I start eating?
You can do whatever you want. I've got tacos heating up the windshield right now. Look at that. That's David Himmel over there.
Hi there.
Hi. I'm James Van Oslo. This is Carne. We're in front of, what's the name of this place?
Turbo Tacos.
Turbo Taco. Fast Tacos. Really, it was Fast Tacos. We got our food really quick.
It was, yeah.
Carne is presented by the Autobarn Mazda of Evanston. Right now, as we're recording Carne, as we're eating tacos, we are sitting in a brand new Mazda CX-9 from the Autobarn Mazda of Evanston. I came to learn as we ordered tacos, better chew quickly, that you got your last car from the Autobarn Mazda of Evanston. You're a customer.
I did, yeah. Like almost a year ago to the day.
What'd you get?
We got a Mazda CX-5.
Gorgeous car. I recorded a podcast on a CX-5 once.
Yeah, it's a great car, and it's a great sounding car.
Oh,
Because I listened to that episode,
God.
so, you know. But no, we love our car. We traded in my wife's, it was like a 2005 Chevy Equinox.
So yes, the Autobarn Mazda of Evanston is the proud sponsor of Carne. That's David Himmel. He's a writer. Are you ready to begin? You're already there.
Yeah, I'm here.
You're so far down the road.
I'm hungry, man. I told you, I've been waiting to eat all day.
It's Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Oslo.
So I go to a lot of taquerias, and tacos as a rule, I've resigned myself to a $2.99 taco as a base price. Tacos are $1.50 here.
It's great, and it tastes like an $80 taco. This thing is delicious.
There's no such thing as an $80 taco.
Well, in perspective.
So I'm concerned, but also intrigued. I got a pastor, I got a pollo, I got a chorizo. You got a pastor, or you got two pastors?
I got two asadas, and a pastor.
And these are traditional Mexican tacos?
Traditional street tacos, yep.
Yep, tiny. You got the two corn tortillas. I don't want to hold it up too long because it's so hot to the touch. And I believe I'm about to have the pollo, which is chicken, David.
Yeah, I've heard that. I learned that from Breaking Bad. The pollo means chicken. Most of the things I know in my life at this point, I learned from Breaking Bad.
Here's the thing. I don't watch much TV, which is to say I don't watch any TV. That's one of those shows I happily watch start to finish. Couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah, it's a great show.
And by my estimation, there was only one bad episode. Although some people would disagree with me on that.
What's the one bad episode?
Stuck in the same room trying to kill a fly the entire episode.
Oh, that's one of the best episodes.
See, people disagree.
That is a study in character, man. But yeah, there's not a lot of gore or murder. It's just Walter White kind of losing his mind.
It didn't advance the plot of the show.
But it advanced the character. Or it reconfirmed the character.
There you go. I'm enjoying an horchata. This pollo taco is actually really good.
Yeah, I think this is the pastor that I'm eating here. And it's really good.
We got out of here for the two of us for $15.
Yeah. Right?
Not a bad night out.
No.
So, let's see. David Michael says, the fly episode is terrible. Filler. David Michael, you get me.
No, David Michael, you misunderstand. Watch it again. Watch it again. But, everybody has to each their own.
Yeah, I mean, that is a polarizing episode for sure.
Yeah.
So the reason why I have you here, you're an author. You published a book called The Last DJ. Tyler Wildy from Epic Deli in McHenry says, hey guys.
Hey Tyler.
You wrote a book called The Last DJ. You were a disc jockey, a radio disc jockey, an old-fashioned radio DJ in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And reading this book, I found it interesting on a multitude of levels, not exclusively because I was a radio DJ or am a radio DJ, but you still have that boundless enthusiasm for the craft of DJing, for the art of radio, which, I've worked with so many people through the years, David. People in radio, they get chewed up, spit out, and they just turn bitter and hard and resentful. I remember taking a class at Columbia College when I was wanting to get into radio, and one of the teachers said, if you want to go into radio, drop out now, forget it.
Just don't.
Change career paths. But although
go into TV if you want to go into radio.
Right. Well, it was that guy who made me think, oh, screw you, I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to listen to you. But you still have that enthusiasm. So much of the reason why it comes off the pages in this book. But to summarize your relationship with radio, or how would you summarize your relationship with radio?
It was fast and furious. I think that the reason that I'm still have that boundless enthusiasm is because I wasn't there long enough to get chewed up too hard and spit out too far.
You didn't have an unhappy ending.
Well, I mean, sort of, because I didn't want to leave. But it was, and I talk about this in the book, that the opportunities wore out. Like, there's three things you need to have for a career to work. You need opportunity, education, and money. And if you can't have all three, you need a lot of the two. And for me in radio, when I got out, all three had just run dry.
Yeah.
And I was getting frustrated, and I needed to make a move. And I left, and I bawled my eyes out the day that I left. I mean, I wept like a baby. Like, it was honorably pathetic.
Well, and you grew up in the area here.
South suburbs, yeah.
South suburbs. So you're in Vegas. You're thinking, I made it. Here I am. I'm in another city, and I'm able to do this. What was it like when you got promoted to being on the air?
It was. I assume like what being knighted would be. Like, yeah. I mean, I don't know exactly what being knighted entails.
And
but
this was live radio too, right?
a little bit.
Well, do you remember what it was like to put on your headphones for the first time and hear your voice through them?
Incredible. I mean, I just got chills even thinking about it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, and it wasn't even so much hearing myself, just the thrill of, the song is either beginning or it's ending, or you're coming out of a break or into a break, and everything sounds different in the headphones.
Oh yeah.
It's thicker, it's louder, and then you come in and I couldn't, every time I opened the mic and put those headphones on, I couldn't help but think about the people listening. And when I would listen, what I would think, what I was doing when I was hearing the jock or the music or, whatever it was, and to know that I was giving that to somebody else.
You really thought about that?
Yeah.
See, I always thought
Every time.
that was toxic to do. Like, I never think about who's listening when I'm...
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what I was trained to do, is you talk to the listener as an individual.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
And create something for them. And I wasn't doing, theater radio.
Yeah.
I was jockeying an oldie show.
Right.
And at times I was doing traffic reporting, but I think that, knowing that people were listening for a reason, they wanted to hear a great song, they wanted to hear an interesting, piece of trivia or some news, or they were trying to win tickets to a show,
right,
or a dinner, or they were trying to figure out the best way to get to work if it was traffic. That's kind of important. And I don't mean to say like I was the most important person and they'd be lost without me, but there's a level of
there's responsibility.
It's a responsibility.
I get that. The book is The Last DJ, and you can get it on Amazon right now. Forget the dangers of working in radio. Forget the issues and the risk of taking on a career in radio. You went as far as to have an office romance, which to me is way more lethal.
Yeah. It's stupid. I mean, let's call it what it is. It was it was really fun and wild for a moment there. But then it got real toxic, because working with somebody, and when we started, I was her underling. So she was my boss, which just, yeah. But, radio, it's this, it allows for that kind of insanity in some ways.
What years are we talking about when you were in Vegas?
2000, well, I was in Vegas for a decade. I went out there for college. Mm-hmm. But I was in radio from 2000 to 2006.
Okay.
So just a little more than 6 years.
I remember back in the 1990s working at Q101 here in Chicago. It was such a big deal that suddenly we were taking money from strip clubs.
Yeah.
Strip club advertisers. And suddenly our jocks were doing appearances at like Blackjack's Gentlemen's Club. That to me is nothing compared to the fact that you were working on promotions with the area brothel.
Yep.
Or an area brothel, not in Vegas proper.
Yeah, because prostitution is illegal in Clark County.
Right.
But yeah, just over the hump in Pahrump.
Over what? Over the what?
Well, Pahrump is like the next town over.
Okay, the hump in...
It's in Nye County, and it's just like, it's a little hill, so they call it the hump in Pahrump.
Appropriate, okay.
So yeah, I mean, that was... I don't remember if we had a lot of brothel advertisements, but yeah, I mean, I did a promotion with one of the brothels, and we were...
You had to find some women for Chuck Berry, was it?
Yeah. Yeah, and Chuck Berry's writer, he requested 2 big-breasted blonde women, and I had to go and get two big-breasted blonde women. My program director at the time asked me, do you know any of your college friends fit the description? And, well, yeah, but I'm not going to do that to them.
Right. But you want them to remain friends.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got the company credit card and drove out and booked them. And, you know, it was like ordering a pizza. You know.
So what did it cost to procure a couple of writer girls?
That I don't remember. I do not remember that.
You know, we live in a day and age where expenses for radio companies prohibit anything. Like if you take a client out, there can't be booze on the bill. Like,
it was nothing like that when I was there.
That's what I'm
Right,
saying.
yeah.
This is such a different... Like the mere hint of impropriety of having alcohol is dangerous. You're putting hookers on the bill.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, the book opens with my first day there. Everybody's walking around drinking beer.
All right. Matthew Habib, I tuned in and get strippers and brothels. This is inappropriate and tell me more. Thanks for tuning in, really.
Yeah, no, that's great. You found the right place.
Timing is everything.
Yeah.
The book, that's David Himmel, Matthew.
Hi, Matthew.
The book is The Last DJ. Tell me about working in the radio there. Tell me about Live from Las Vegas. That was
Live from
the
Las
entry
Vegas.
point.
Yeah, it was a nationally syndicated oldies show that was broadcasting from the top of the stratosphere. There was this beautiful radio booth at the top of the stratosphere, and I assume I haven't been back there, but I assume it's still there. And it was a nationally syndicated oldies show that we did live. And what's great about Las Vegas is that a lot of oldies acts come through. Mm-hmm. So basically every oldies act that came through, we would book them to come up to the stratosphere and do an interview and maybe do a performance in there or just chat. And the studio was right there on the indoor observation deck and had these big, thick windows. So people would walk by and they were like, theater lights. And I mean, it was a show. It was, and yeah, I got to meet all these great, Rich Little and the Kingsmen, and this might mean nothing to some of our FaceTime Live viewers and listeners of the podcast, but I mean, these were people at the beginnings of rock and roll.
Yeah, the Kingsmen, that's the beginning of garage rock right there.
Yeah. We never had Paul McCartney up there, but we got the Righteous Brothers, and just name anybody, they were probably there, right? And when I first started up there, I was just an intern, so I was like helping just corral the celebrities, running get beer or soft pretzels for the jock, and then I moved into board operating, so I was then producing the show. But it was great. I mean, my job was to go to the top of the stratosphere, which is the tallest building west of the Mississippi, and do radio and hang out with celebrities and rock legends. And
I totally get it. I mean, I remember when I was an intern, and I would be the guy who'd have to collect liners from visiting artists. So
we did a lot of that. Yep.
Yeah, so Radiohead came through on the Pablo Honey tour, and I was in a studio with them recording. Hi, this is Radiohead. You're listening to, whoever came through. And I remember going to Metro when Weezer put out the Blue album, and I had to meet them backstage to get them to record liners there.
Wow. Yeah.
And looking back at that, I'm like, holy crap, I got to do that. And I remember it being really thrilling then, and I look back now, not a bad way to spend a day.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. Like, it was, and I wasn't making a lot of money as an intern or even as a as a full-blown jock, but man, it was great. Like, that was, so, those three things, opportunity, education, and money. I was getting education and opportunity. Right. And it was, and I was 20 years old when I started.
Yeah, so the world,
the world is my oyster.
Absolutely.
And what was so cool about working at the Stratosphere too is that, the visuals are fantastic.
Sure.
And you see the entire Las Vegas Valley and then beyond. So you're thinking about the listener, like people in Ohio and Milwaukee are hearing this, and Los Angeles and Portland, and I don't think it was in Chicago, but in fact I know it wasn't because my parents never heard me. They didn't believe that I was doing this.
See, my parents heard me on the radio, and I don't think they understood what I did for a living.
I don't think my parents have ever quite understood what I did for a living. Until they would come and visit, I would bring them up there and have them in the radio booth and doing the show, and that was cool for them. That was cool for them to see. But yeah, it was just like every day at work was exciting and wild, and it never felt like work.
Yeah,
like I never called in. We're like, I have to get up and go do radio.
Yeah.
There were times when it was after Live from Las Vegas went away and I was working as a full-time jock and traffic reporter. and the studio at the Stratosphere had been split in half into two smaller studios. So we would rent one of them out to shows that wanted to come and broadcast from Las Vegas. So we had shows from London coming in. We had Steve Harvey's show came in a couple times, and I worked with Steve Harvey and his people a few times. And I'd get up at like 2 a.m. because the time difference, and I'd have these insanely long days, and I was exhausted and delusional. But it was great. It was such a great way to make a measly living.
The book is The Last DJ. Carne is presented by the Autobarn Mazda of Evanston. We were in a Mazda CX-9. It's so comfortable.
It's a great car, yeah.
This is the pro tip. As I'm doing this stuff, eat your food.
Okay.
And we're going to kill the Facebook Live in a second because I am low on battery. But we're totally on borrowed time, and I can tell because the Mazda CX-9 has a display. Red is bad, right?
Red is bad.
Red is bad for the battery.
Yeah, it means stop Facebook Live.
That means stop Facebook Live.
Yeah, but before we do, you can watch me chew with my mouth closed, so you're welcome.
You're welcome. All right, so tell me about the listener. You dated a listener. It was a blind date. It went against everything you knew to be...
Yeah, everything I knew, everything I was taught. And it wasn't really dating. It was this blind date, and it started... her friend was calling the studio, calling the traffic studio when I was up there, and telling me about her friend. She thought I was cute because my picture was on the website, and she liked my voice and thought I was funny, and all these other flattering things that, you get your ego stroked, and it's like, all right. Mm-hmm. But I knew better. And I wasn't big on dating anyway, and I was less interested in blind dates, but I was going through the breakup, or like it was the back end of the breakup with the workplace girlfriend. And I figured, what the hell? Mm-hmm. So we met up, and the girl herself, she eventually ended up calling, and we talked a bit, and I was like, yeah, she sounds like fun. Okay, she sounds cute. Her friend described her as cute. Okay, fine. Let's give it a go and see what happens. And she was not at all, physically speaking, she was not at all what had been described, which, okay, fine.
Typical blind date.
Yeah. But I'm here. She's here. Mm-hmm. Let's see what happens. Mm-hmm. And it was weird. I think that she was starstruck. Because she just was kind of like looking at me with this wonder, and she didn't really add much to the conversation, and she just kept talking about how cool it was that I was on the radio, and she couldn't believe she was on a date with Dr. Dave Maxwell, and it was just like, I
forgot to mention that you're Dr. Dave.
I am Dr. Dave. Yeah, that was my radio name, and yeah, it ended strangely, because I got really drunk to make it better.
That's what you do on a blind date?
Yeah. Uh-huh. And we ended up back at my place, despite my efforts not to get there. I was too drunk she was driving me home, and I was too drunk to tell her how to get to my house, because I was just out of my mind. Uh-huh. And then I had these moments of clarity. It was like, all right, just have her drop you off, walk home. She'll never know where you live. You'll be safe. Just go home, go to sleep, and forget the whole thing happened. But that didn't happen, and we spent the night together. I wake up at like 2 p.m, and she's not there, and I'm like, oh man, my head hurts, my body hurts, I'm regretting everything, but she's not here. That's good, okay. And I get up, and I hear the TV on downstairs. I'm like, oh, I must have left the TV on. I don't remember watching TV with her, but okay. So I walk downstairs to go turn the TV off, or crash on the couch and watch whatever was on, because I was dying, and she's there.
Of course.
And she said something like, oh, hello, sleepyhead, or something playful and girlfriendy. And I was like, what are you doing here? I would not accept that she was still in my house. And she's like, well, I just had to give you a ride home. I'm like, or back to your car. I said, you don't. I have friends I can call. You need to go. And this went back and forth, and it was odd. And I went up back into my room to get changed. She was going to drive me back to my car, and she came in and walked in on me as I was buck naked again, getting dressed. And she's like, oh, round 2 or something like that. And I was like, no, you need to get out now. I'm going to get dressed, and then we will go, and this will all be over. And I don't think I was a jerk. I'm sure I probably was in some ways, but...
Hearing the story, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to be, but why are you still in my house? Uh-huh. Did she eat my food? But my big concern was, she now knows where I live, and I'm thinking about all the things that I've been told. These, the other older jocks had told me these horror stories of dating listeners and how they can get crazy, and but that's the risk you take with any blind date.
That's just it. I mean, that's not exclusive to this industry,
right? But I'm thinking misery. Like she's going to come back to my house and tie me up.
Yeah.
And thankfully she never did. She kept calling the studio when she knew I was on air. And I just had to go, I would busy the phones.
Basically, you lock them out.
You lock them out, yeah. And I had to stop taking calls for a month or so, and she eventually stopped calling, and that was the end of that. But yeah, it was real touch and go, real risky there for a little bit.
So that story is one of many in The Last DJ, which it's a love letter to radio. I related to so much of it, but I think for anyone on the outside, I've said this before about my own book, not enough has been written about the inner workings of radio, about the behind-the-scenes perspective, especially in the era you were in. I think this is a fascinating glimpse into how this world operates.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it is still show business.
It is, yeah.
So the book again, The Last DJ. Do you have another book in you?
I've got a lot of books in me, yeah. Just about radio?
No, just in general, on the way, on the horizon. This is my spin forward as we wrap things up.
Well, I should first say, shameless or shameful promotion, shelf promotion. This is my second book. My first book is called The Camp Story. It's a loose memoir history about growing up at summer camp in Michigan. But yeah, I've got a couple of books, two that I'm playing around with right now. One of them, the working title is not a good working title now that I'm actually living it, but it's the working title is Fun Bags to Feed Bags, and it's about
sold.
It's every guy that I tell that they're like, oh my god, I want to read that, but the girls, the women that I talk to, they're like,
I can see that.
Maybe not. But it's about having a child and going through that experience with my wife. But as I've gone through it, I realized that Fun Bags to Feed Bags is probably a little insulting and doesn't encompass the whole thing, because it's so much more than just boobs. I thought of this title way before I was married, even knew my wife, was even dating anybody, and kids were, even an idea.
It's a working title.
Yeah, working title. And then the other one is something I want to play around with is I want to write a book about the Chicago Tavern. It's not a place, not the Chicago Tavern on Milwaukee, but the Chicago Tavern. Bars that exist, I don't think they exist in the same way anywhere else.
No, I totally agree.
That they do in Chicago.
That's why whenever I'd go driving through River North on a Saturday night at 2 a.m, I'd see people waiting outside of Velvet Rope to get in. I don't understand that Chicago, because that to me is so not Chicago.
Yeah.
This is a tavern city.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've always, the darker the bar, the grimier, the better. That's I like the street tacos, and I like, room temperature old style. And I like the union guys, down the regulars down at the end of the bar that, are paying $2, for the Miller Lite or whatever it is, and maybe they've got a 20-year-old bag of Cheetos. That's the food that they have, to line the stomach and soak up the booze. So I've been playing with this idea. It's a fairly new idea, and now that I've said it in public, it's it's on record now.
Yeah.
I guess I have to do it, so I can't back out of it. So I've been playing with that, whether it's a nonfiction historical take, or if I fictionalize it, but based on the reality of the Chicago Tavern and the people that have lived that, because I think that the Chicago Tavern doesn't exist the way that it used to. Because the working man, the middle class, which were the champions of the tavern, have gone away a bit.
A little bit.
And velvet ropes are the thing to be, and big sports bars and big TVs, and that's...
I don't know. I think if you drive through Oak Lawn, you can find a couple taverns.
I mean, they're there. Yeah. There's some... that's why I love living in Wicker Park, because there's still some around there.
The Jeffrey Dahmer Tavern is right over on, Clark and Belmont.
I don't know the Jeffrey Dahmer Tavern.
Tavern he used to hang out at.
Really? Well, I'll have to go. That'll be
I forgot the name of it. It's a creepy as hell dive bar.
Where is it at?
Clark and Belmont. East side of Clark Street.
Okay. I'll have to check that out. Yeah. There's one in the neighborhood in Wicker Park or Bucktown called Corner Bar, which is a dog-friendly bar. Dog-friendly taverns are the best kind of taverns in my opinion.
Without a doubt.
And the beer's cheap, and the bartenders are friendly, and everybody just you're here to drink and
it's community,
hang out. Yeah. That, and I've got other things, but those are the two that I'm scribbling down ideas and trying to map my way through them at the moment.
Love it. So we'll keep our eye on you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
In the meantime, to catch up, get The Last DJ. It's on Amazon. I hope you had fun.
I had a blast. This was great.
And I've been making you talk, so you haven't really had your tacos yet.
I'm going to dive in like a savage.
Okay, good.
Once we wrap up. Yeah,
As you should.
I'm also being careful because this is a loaner.
Thank you for respecting the loaner.
So I want to be careful. Plus, and because I have a Mazda CX-5 from the Autobarn in Evanston.
Yes.
My wife and I were just talking about this the other day, that, you know, the kid is getting to the point where he can eat, well, he's not supposed to eat Cheerios unless he's sitting at his high chair.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I had him with his cup of Cheerios. She's like, he can't eat in the car like that. And that's not what my wife sounds like. And Katie, I'm sorry. But I said, so when can he eat in the car? She goes, I don't really want him to eat in the car. Like, I want a rule, no eating in the car. And I said,
good
you know
luck.
what? I love you. That's a great idea. Let's do that. So I feel kind of bad for eating in the car in general. But I'm covered in napkins. I'm being very careful. I have respect for the clean car.
Thank you. This was fun. Thank you for doing this.
This was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Again, the Carne. Carne is presented by the Autobarn Mazda of Evanston. Go there, take a test drive, drive a CX-9 like this handsome vehicle we're in right now.